In the heart of a desolate forest, hidden from civilization, stood an abandoned asylum known as Ravenscroft. The building's ominous presence sent shivers down the spines of those who dared to approach it. The asylum had a grim history of housing the criminally insane, and rumors spoke of unspeakable horrors within its walls. John, an urban explorer with a morbid curiosity, had heard tales of Ravenscroft for years. The stories of hauntings, mysterious disappearances, and a hidden dungeon beneath the asylum had always intrigued him. One fateful night he decided to investigate the asylum himself. With his trusty flashlight, camera, and a sense of unease, John made his way through the crumbling, ivy-covered structure. The air was thick with the stench of decay, and he could feel the weight of the building's tragic past pressing down on him. As John ventured deeper into the asylum, he came across a hidden trapdoor concealed beneath a rotting carpet. It led to a narrow stone staircase that spiraled downward into darkness. Ignoring the nagging feeling that he should turn back, John descended into the depths. The deeper he went, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. The air grew colder, and he began to hear faint whispers that seemed to emanate from the very walls of the dungeon. Shadows danced in his peripheral vision, and he could feel unseen eyes upon him. John's flashlight flickered, casting eerie, disjointed shadows on the dungeon's damp walls. His footsteps echoed ominously, and he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched by something malevolent. The dungeon was a labyrinth of narrow, winding corridors and rusted iron doors. As he explored further, he came across a chamber filled with rusted restraints and blood-stained tools. The grim realization washed over him that this was where the inmates of Ravenscroft had been subjected to unspeakable tortures. In the dim light, John began to see flickering apparitions, tormented souls of the past. They were gaunt, hollow-eyed figures, their mouths agape in silent screams. They reached out to him with spectral hands, their fingers brushing his skin like ice. Despite his terror, John pressed on, feeling compelled to uncover the truth of Ravenscroft's darkest secrets. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was guiding him through the labyrinthine dungeon, leading him deeper into the abyss. In the heart of the dungeon, John stumbled upon a room filled with decaying journals and diaries of the asylum's staff. The entries detailed sadistic experiments, cruel experiments, and unholy rituals performed on the inmates. It was a chamber of horrors, and the weight of the past bore down on John. As he read, he felt a sudden, intense presence behind him. He turned to find a grotesque, hulking figure, a malevolent entity that had been awakened by his intrusion. It emitted a guttural, otherworldly growl as it advanced, and John knew he was in a fight for his life. In a frenzied panic, John fled deeper into the dungeon, pursued relentlessly by the malevolent entity. He could hear its maddening laughter echoing through the corridors, driving him to the brink of insanity. The walls themselves seemed to close in around him, shifting and pulsating with a malevolent energy. Hours turned into days as John's sanity unraveled in the never-ending labyrinth of the dungeon. He encountered grotesque manifestations of his own fears and guilt, each tormenting him with visions of his darkest secrets. In the deepest, darkest chamber of the dungeon, John finally confronted the malevolent entity. It took on a form that mirrored his deepest fears and regrets, a grotesque, nightmarish version of himself. The two clashed in a harrowing battle of wills, with the very fabric of reality warping around them. With every ounce of his strength and willpower, John overcame the malevolent entity, banishing it back into the shadows from whence it came. But the victory came at a terrible cost. John had descended too far into madness, and as he emerged from the dungeon, he was a broken and hollow shell of his former self. John emerged from Ravenscroft Asylum, forever changed by the horrors he had witnessed in the dungeon's depths. He was haunted by the malevolent entity's whispers and the tortured souls he had encountered. The asylum had claimed his sanity, leaving him trapped in a never-ending nightmare. To this day, Ravenscroft Asylum stands as a decaying monument to madness and malevolence, a place where the boundary between the living and the dead is forever blurred. It serves as a chilling reminder that some horrors are not meant to be uncovered, and that the darkness lurking in the depths of the human psyche is more terrifying than any supernatural entity.